Good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get going. How's everyone doing? Hopefully good. Where are you guys all from? Are you guys from? Well, where are you guys from?
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're in Hawaii.
We're in
right
Hawaii.
now.
I was gonna say, yeah,
So
that's
if you
right.
see us sweating, that's why.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Kind of toasty here and no air conditioning.
Yeah, and we're just gonna give a few more minutes for people to come in. All right, Brent's from North Dakota. Michael from upstate New York. All right, we were just in New York. Barath from Austin. Amber from Los Angeles. Cool.
Wow, big spread.
Karen from LA. Or
Montana.
Montana.
Gosh,
Tiffany
it
from
must be
Montana.
beautiful
Cool.
there.
I know. It's
We
awesome.
love Flathead Lake.
Yeah.
And we wish we're going this summer.
Perrin from upstate New York. Very cool. All right. Thanks for that.
Okay,
Holly
guys.
from Columbia, South Carolina. Okay.
So before we start, I just want to let you guys know what we're going to do is we're going to do a presentation. We'll teach you. We'll talk about Zero to Freedom, and then we're going to make time at the end also for your questions and answers. And so there's a chat over in the corner that you can make sure you can chat with each other and, comment or whatever you want to say. But we encourage you to put the questions you have in the Q&A. And then at the end, what we'll do is we'll start working our way through the Q&A, and we'll probably make it through most everything in the next couple hours. So.
All right. Okay. Let me just share my screen here. And okay. And can everyone see a picture
Of us?
Picture of us? Hopefully, yes. Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. Thanks, Connor. Okay.
Oh, and in the chat, our team will also be in there if you have any questions, and they'll probably put resources along the way for you guys,
Yeah.
so that you can, if there's somewhere like you can learn more, I'm sure they'll do that for you.
Yep. Okay.
Let's get going.
Let me just check one more thing. Sorry. Okay. We're the host. Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's get started.
Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to give you a presentation and teach. It's called From Overworked Doctor to Savvy Investor, and it's how to make 100K in your first year as a real estate investor. And then again, we're going to actually talk about Zero to Freedom, and then finally we're going to do an open Q&A. And this will roughly be somewhere about 90 minutes to 2 hours.
All right.
Okay. So what we really want to answer for those of you who maybe have never invested in real estate, never even considered investing in real estate, this is the first time maybe you're coming to learn about it, is real estate investing right for me? And the goal of this masterclass is we're going to show you how you can use rental properties to develop another source of income, giving you more control over when, where, and how you practice medicine, or if you're a high-income professional, how you work in your day job.
Yeah, in other words, it may seem hard to imagine that you can make 100,000 in your first year, but we're going to show you how you can do that.
And just for attending today, we are giving you guys a special bonus. It's called the Checklist for Buying Rentals. And so if you use this link, you can go and download that. And it's really helpful for those of you who maybe get a property under contract. This is something you're going to need right at that point, going through that due diligence process and buying your first property. Yeah,
and it's a checklist to make sure that you don't forget to do something. And the idea with it is to really help you eliminate mistakes.
So for those of you who have never met us before, maybe this is the first time you're seeing us, Kenji and I are both hospitalists. I'm family medicine trained and he is internal medicine trained. We started investing together in real estate back in 2015. And before that, Kenji was actually investing in real estate starting in 2001. So we achieved financial freedom together in 3 years, but we have a combined 29 years of experience investing, including Kenji's experience going through multiple downturns. I think that's really important to highlight because we think a lot about risk mitigation, which you'll see through the course of this. And so I wanted to highlight that piece.
Yeah, there's so many lessons to be learned from going through that downturn. So I think that you'll see, throughout this presentation, and if you do decide to join us in our course, we're always thinking and talking about risk mitigation and how to think about really recession-proofing your real estate portfolio.
Yeah, and I think most of us know that we're probably going into a recession now. I know it hasn't been officially announced yet, but this is kind of a period we've all been waiting for in real estate, and heading into it, we want to make sure that that we've gone through multiple recessions. When we started in 2015 together. We bought a couple duplexes and a fourplex that first year, and now we own over 150 units. There are short-term rentals, long-term rentals, and we have a commercial building as well. And we're additionally general partners on 424 units.
Yeah, and just imagine we were exactly where you are if you're just getting started. I mean, we were literally where you were. I did have some knowledge, but I didn't have a portfolio, and we built our portfolio together to over 150 units in 7 years.
We have broad experience across many different types of rental properties, and we've invested in multiple states. We currently own properties in multiple states, and real estate gave us the lifestyle we dreamed of when we started this back in 2015. We had a vision of where we were going, and that's why we feel so passionate about real estate and about helping physicians and high-income professionals achieve this, because it made such a big difference for our lives. And now we can travel and spend time with our family, and it's really fulfills us to see others be able to get that.
Yeah, and you can see we got young kids, and it's really amazing to be able to spend that time with them while they're still young, and then while we're still young as well, right? So that's what when you pull together all these components that we're going to talk about, you can really achieve financial freedom quickly, or another way to put it, while you're still young enough to enjoy it.
And we've taught thousands of doctors and high-income professionals just like you to invest in long-term, mid-term, commercial, short-term rentals, many of whom have already achieved financial freedom. We started teaching our courses back in 2019. So we've had a lot of cohorts go through. And, I think we're very lucky to work with doctors and high-income professionals because they're used to learning and taking things and then putting it into action. And so what our people have been able to achieve is much faster than we ever achieved our results. So we are very lucky to be able to work with such high achievers.
Yeah, and this is our why, and this is why we love doing it. And when we have events like this, we get to meet you in person, and it's a really, like you said, it's just an incredible group of people who are highly motivated, really smart. This is the type of group you want to surround yourself with.
Okay, with that, now that you know us, we're going to jump right into how to make 100K in your first year as a real estate investor. There are a number of ways you make money with real estate, really 6 main ways. And we're going to focus on the first 5 and not talk that much about market appreciation, because market appreciation is something you can't control. And it's great when it happens, but we never bet on it. So what we're going to focus on today are the top 5 ways that you're making money in real estate that you can control. And that's cash flow, renters paying down your mortgage, immediate appreciation, forced depreciation, and tax savings.
Yeah, when you combine all of these things, what you'll see is that when you're maximizing all these things and taking advantage of each of these 5, it's not very hard to imagine that you can make 100,000 in your first year.
And this is actually a picture of our 160 unit. We own a little bit over a third of it. Mm-hmm. And we bought it last year with some of our people from our community actually as partners. And it's just to give you a sense of where we started with duplexes, and then now where we are with bigger properties and buying them as part of partnerships. It's been an awesome journey. And it's actually, we have students already, alumni of our courses, buying 60, 80 units themselves. So it's very, very possible for you, even in a matter of a couple of years, that you might be in this position. Okay, number 1 is cash flow. So what is cash flow? Cash flow is the money you put in your pocket each month after you pay all your expenses. And these are expenses like your mortgage, utilities, property management, property taxes, but also includes things like vacancy, maintenance. We factor all of this into something called a cash and cash calculator, which we'll show you shortly. And we want to be able to see how much money is this property going to make us after we pay everything out? Because what we want to buy is assets, and assets make us money every month. We don't want to buy liabilities that we have to support to maintain them and make it a second job just to pay for them.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to point out is cash flow can be very significant. And if you know anybody who's owns a rental property, you might have heard some of the numbers, but people in our community are really maximizing in this. And this is part of what we teach, is really thinking about ways to increase your cash flow. And there's a lot of different strategies for doing that. And example is that you can, instead of raising rents on the same tenant, you can go out and get a different tenant. We have people, for example, in a program called supported living, and we get 40% cash on cash return or 40% return on one property.
And why do you need cash flow? Well, cash flow is what actually can support you and pay those monthly bills. And this is what makes you free. You can have all the money in the world in your 401k or other investments, but if they're not paying you every month, you ultimately have to sell them to be able to live on them. Well, cash flow is different. You can actually own your rental property. It can be increasing in market value. You could be making money in all these other ways that we're going to talk to you about. And it's making you money every single month. And so if you ever get in a situation, that you are sick and you can't work, or something happens that you want to be able to take a sabbatical or whatever it is, you actually have this cash flow coming in every single month that you can live on. And it was something that, led Kenji and I to invest in real estate right in the very beginning, as we realized that we needed something that could be an alternative to our daily income or the income we were getting in from our medical careers. And another important thing about cash flow is it helps you weather market fluctuations. Again, I've mentioned that we're probably going into a downturn. When a downturn comes, sometimes rental properties and single family homes will lose value. And if you're cash flowing and your property's lost value, you can continue to hold that property, right? Because you're making money every single month. And so that cash flow is integral to weathering downturns, and then also any other challenges and unexpected costs you have along the way.
Yeah, and back in 2008, when property values did go down, that's how I was able to survive with some of the properties that were cash flowing. I was able to survive and hold on to those. I didn't have to sell them or get rid of them at a discount. I could actually hold on to them and wait for the property values to go up. And that's the benefit of having cash flow.
So how do you predict cash flow? Well, to predict cash flow, you use something called a cash on cash calculator. And what you need to do is you need to evaluate the property before you even buy it, before you close on it, and be able to predict how it's going to perform for you, so you know you're buying a good deal. And here's an example cash on cash calculator. This is ours that Kenji created and that our whole community uses. And you'll see an example here of one of our students' short-term rentals and what amount of cash flow they're getting. Now, this is outside of the norm of long-term rentals, because this is a short-term rental, which tends to have higher cash and cash return and higher cash flow. But just to show you an example of what one property can do, it's pretty remarkable. And again, they're factoring in all those pieces into their cash and cash return to ensure that they're predicting it accurately. So they're looking at their taxes, they're looking at repair costs, they're looking at, what's their property management fee, their booking fees, their monthly supplies. They're taking all those into account to make sure that they get the right numbers, so they know what their property is going to perform, so they don't buy a liability.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say this is out of the norm for a short-term rental, though, because this is a property that she is self-managing. And so because she's self-managing, she eliminates a really large expense, which is the property management fee, which is often 20 to 30%. And so she's able to make annually $80,000 on this property. Now, if she had a property manager, then the cash on cash return and the cash flow would go down, but still it would be very significant. In this situation, it probably would be still 40,000, and the cash on cash return probably still be 40%. So still very, very significant cash flow.
We wanted to give you some examples from our portfolio, and these are our long-term rentals to give you a sense of how they're performing. And this is actually, I'd say, about 2 years ago, so it's a little bit dated. And so the cash and cash return, as Kenji mentioned, part of what our whole community does is we're always thinking about how we can increase income and decrease expenses to improve our cash and cash return. And so all our properties are actually doing better than this chart.
Yeah, and we didn't want to update it because this is actually pulled directly from our Backstage Pass. This is one of the bonuses we'll talk about at the end, where we give you literally a Backstage Pass to our portfolio, all the purchases, all the properties we've bought, properties we've sold, how they perform, mistakes that we've made, and we just uncover it all. And it's really cool to kind of see from beginning to end, how our property and how our portfolio has grown and how the value of that portfolio has grown over that time.
Yeah, and what you can see in the cash flow section of this is that even just with a few properties, the cash flow starts to add up quickly. And this is just a small portion of our properties. And that, again, is that piece that you can live on. Wanted to give you also another example that's not just us. So this is one of our alumni of Zero to Freedom, Elisa Krim, and she is a GI doc and medical director of an IBD clinic. She is a very busy lady, actually working full time, but she took Zero to Freedom in spring of 2020, and she has now 5 short-term rentals and is building 2 more. And she also has 5 long-term rental units in multiple states. All of her short-term rentals are remote, so she's flying to them. And that's how she's actually able to harvest those tax savings, even flying to her properties. Her portfolio generates multiple 6 figures of cash flow every single year. She's been able to do this in about not even, I guess, 2 years now. And she self-manages all of her short-term rentals remotely. So for those of you who are out there wondering, can I do this as a full-time doctor? She's a full-time doctor with 4 kids, self-managing short-term rentals remotely and multiple, and still making this much money. So wanted to give you a sense of what's possible.
Yeah, and she's also publicly told us that 2 of her kids are special needs as well. So, like Leti said, very, very busy person. All right, number 2. So let's talk about the second one. This is renters paying down your mortgage.
Oh, that's our short-term rental in Dallas,
Oh,
by
yeah.
the way.
Right. Okay. So this is something that we love, right? This is something where your renters are helping you build your net worth. And whenever you buy a property, and if you get a loan on it, assuming you get a loan on it, every month, your renters are paying down your mortgage because they're covering the rent that you get from them covers the mortgage payment. That's how you're buying it. You want to make sure that the rent covers the mortgage payment and more, and that's why you're cash flowing. This is something that can be very, very significant, but it's not something that we actually even include in the cash on cash calculator. But it does go straight to your bottom line, and over time, and this has happened to us, it can amount to a significant amount of money. If you look at just 5 of our properties here, the first one is a 32 unit. That's one of our bigger properties. We actually have a 42 unit as well, and we showed you the 160 unit. But the 32 unit, that one property alone, the debt pay down on that is $45,000, and that's how much equity we're getting every year from that property.
Okay, the next one is immediate appreciation. And some of you might be wondering, what is immediate appreciation? Well, that's when you make money on your property the day you buy it by getting it for less than market value.
Yeah, and then you might be wondering, well, how do you do that, especially in a hot market, right? We've been in a really hot market the last several years, and the way you do it is that if you're looking on the MLS, and MLS is where properties are listed publicly, even for properties that are listed publicly, you can actually spot hidden gems if you know how to search for them, and if you're really diligent about looking every day. And I'd say about 25% of our portfolio, or maybe actually even a third, have been properties that have been listed on the MLS that we just locked up. We got it under contract really quickly, and so we were able to buy it at a discount on day one.
And some of them, we didn't even get under contract quickly. They were ones that were on market for a while, but nobody could see all the value. And that happens a lot. There are actually some inefficiencies in the market where people may not see value, or they may be mislisted or other mistakes made, that actually good properties are sitting there for a long time unnoticed.
So another way that you can make money on the day you buy it is getting off-market deals. And off-market deals are a great way to get discounted properties. Not all off-market deals are discounted, but many of them are, and that's a great way to get immediate appreciation.
And off-market deals are deals that never end up on the MLS. Oftentimes it's your real estate agent has a deal and they bring it directly to you and no one else, and it never shows up. And so you're not publicly competing with anyone else as a buyer.
Yeah, and this last one, negotiating, right? This is something that we spend a lot of time in the course. And the idea here is that once you get the property under contract, there's an opportunity for you to get a haircut or a discount from the seller. And that's all about negotiation. And if you know what you're doing, you can get a significant discount on the property. And ultimately, when you buy it, you're getting that immediate appreciation. And so we wanted to kind of pull some examples from our portfolio. So the first one is a fourplex that we had 40,000 of immediate appreciation. This one, the story is that we got it under contract really quickly. We were the first to get that contract to the seller, and the seller just signed it without thinking and knowing that there were going to be other offers coming. But when the other agents found out that he'd already signed the deal, they approached the listing agent and said, "Hey, we would have offered 40,000 more on this property." And so we knew that we got it at a discount. This other property, 32 unit, that was an off-market deal. And the day we bought it, we already had $1 million of immediate appreciation. We bought it for $3 million. It was worth $4 million. And the seller was trying to figure out ways to back out of the deal, and we didn't let him. He in fact didn't even show up to sign originally, and then we figured that out eventually. He eventually did sign with lawyers. Yeah, he did sign eventually, but it was worth it for us, right? It was $1 million worth of value that we got immediately on day one. And then the 160 unit, this was a combination of being off market and negotiation. And the day we bought it, the property was valued at 16.75 million. We bought it for 14 million. So we had immediate appreciation of 2.75 million. And then that
was based on an appraisal.
And that was based on an appraisal. Formal appraisal was done. And then this last one is actually one of our first properties. It's a duplex. And we had it, we got that for a $25,000 discount.
Yeah, and the reason we got that for a discount was it was an estate sale, and 3 people now owned it.
Three children.
They just wanted to get rid of it, and so we wanted to put that one in there. I know it's not as flashy a number as the other ones, but each dollar really counts, especially when you're first starting. And there were so many inefficiencies in a market. We've been in a really hot market the last couple of years, and I can't tell you how many times we've been asked, well, shouldn't I just wait? There are no good deals here. And that's not actually true. There are always good deals in any market, if it's high or low, because there are inefficiencies with people in personal situations. Let's say they're 1031 exchanging, or they're going through a divorce, or it's an estate sale, or they don't like their tenants and they just want to get out. There are so many reasons that people sell properties for less than they could get on market.
Yeah, and also the reason to put the last example in there is just to give you a sense of the magnitude of the discount or the haircut that you can get from these properties. And this property was a $174,000 property that we got for $25,000 less than the market value. But you can just see that this is still very significant amount of money off of just one property. And you get the quarter of the way there to that 100,000 we were talking about, right?
Right.
All right. And so this is one of our favorite examples, Waylan. She's a dermatologist, and she took zero to freedom in winter of 2021. And she grew her portfolio to 30 units, long-term rentals. And then she also has 2 short-term rentals. Her first property was a 14 unit. And the story is that she negotiated $200,000 off this deal. It was a $970,000 purchase price, and she negotiated it down for $770,000. So that's the price that she bought it for. And so she had immediate appreciation from just negotiating like a boss. Seriously, like she's really good at negotiating. In addition to all of this, she also got 6 figures back in tax savings. She forced a ton of appreciation on this property. The property that she bought for $770,000 is worth over $2 million. And she bought her last short-term rental with no money down, which is a whole nother story that we covered in our recent summit. But that's a cool thing. I mean, especially for people who are wondering, how can I buy rental properties if I'm, let's say somebody yesterday was, a fellow was wondering, how can I buy a short-term rental or any property with very little money? And she was able to buy this short-term rental with no money down.
Okay. Number 4 is forced depreciation. And so we have showed you now 3 different ways that you make money in real estate. We've already shown you, I think, very easily how you can make 100,000 with any one property in 1 year. But this one is huge because this is the way that you take a massive step up in wealth. And this is what's really formed most of our gains in net worth has come from forced depreciation.
Yeah, this is the way, compared to all the other ways, this is the way that you can really make that money quickly out of real estate.
Okay. So what is forced depreciation? Well, forced depreciation is when you force the value of your property to increase by recognizing and tapping into something we call hidden value. So some of the keys, this is in your control. You actually increase the value of the property. And how you do that is you find ways to make it make more money. Rental properties that are bought by other investors, the value in them is that they make them money, right? It's a cash flow. And so if you can increase income and you can decrease expenses, now now each property, which is like a little business, is making more money, and now it's worth more. And so there's a number of ways to create or tap that hidden value to make more money.
Yeah, the first one is just looking for extra income. We were talking about income, increasing income or decreasing expenses. So we're focused on the income side. And the way you can increase income on a property is you find a property that has under market rents and the units are pretty decent. All you have to do is increase the rents to market and you will have forced appreciation on that property. Another way is to charge for parking. This is extra income that you can get. You can also charge for pet rent. You'd be surprised at how many owners don't charge for pets. Actually, a lot of owners don't allow pets, period. But for those that do allow pets, a lot of them don't even charge for pets. Coin laundry is another great way. Instead of just giving it for free and having a laundry room with like free laundry, you charge them for it. Another way of tapping into hidden value, identifying hidden value, is improving the building. And this is when you take a property and you add a bedroom, you add an extra unit, and you might be wondering, well, how do you actually add an extra unit? Well, think about a basement that has a separate entrance, right? You can actually make that into a unit if it's unfinished. That's an opportunity to add a unit. You can also add a pool. This is something that we did with our short-term rental, and one of our students also did with their short-term rental and forced significant appreciation. You can add storage units, which you can then rent out and make some income. And you can also upgrade units. And what this does is when you upgrade units, you can get more rent for the same unit because you're going to get a higher paying tenant. And this is an example on the right here of our 32 unit. This is what our 32 unit looks like. This is what it looked like before and what we did, what it looks like after. And this is just new flooring, paint on the cabinets. You can see that the appliances are actually even the same. But the difference here is that the picture above, we were renting for $700 to $750 a month. Now we're renting on the bottom for $1,050, so $1,050. And we're also billing back about $94 in utilities as well. So that billing back of utilities is also additional income that we're making. And then the last one is lower expenses. And this is billing back utilities, like I was just saying. You can also do energy conservation. You can do solar or water conservation, and that will decrease your utility bill. And that's another way to lower your expenses.
And all of these things, besides increasing the value of the property, also increase the cash flow. So we buy properties that sometimes don't even make cash flow when we buy them, but we do this type of stuff and suddenly we're making cash flow. And we can see that vision of what it's going to be using that cash and cash calculator before we even buy it. We know what it's going to cash flow.
And you remember we were saying that throughout this presentation, we're going to talk about, the economy and recessions and the fact that we've invested in a recession, or I've invested in a recession. This is one of the best ways to weather a recession. And back in the last downturn, which is in 2007, 2008, I bought an 8-unit townhouse complex, 8 units, and all I did was increase the rent by $100 on every unit. And then a year later, I was able to sell that property for $200,000 more. And so that was in the middle of a recession. So I was able to force appreciation in the middle of a recession. And so this forced appreciation is a great way, in addition to cash flow, to help you weather even the worst downturn back in 2007, 2008.
Here is an example of one of people in our community and what they've been able to do with forced appreciation. So Trey Shirley, he's a PhD and professor of art and married to a family medicine doc. They completed Zero to Freedom in spring of 2021, so just about a year ago, a little over a year ago. They have 5 long-term rental units, 2 midterm rentals, and they're part owners of a medical office building. And they've forced greater than $100,000 of appreciation on multiple properties. And we'll show you one example next so you can see how this is done. They've generated significant tax savings, and their properties are also cash flowing exceptionally well. And you'll see an example in the next slide as well.
Yeah, what's cool about when they force appreciation, they're doing a cash out refi, and they're able to recycle the same money and use that to buy the next property. They cash that out, take the money out, and buy the next property.
Yeah, I want to highlight that because I know that people out there are asking, well, how do you grow your portfolio so quickly? Did you just have millions of dollars sitting around? And that is not the answer. What we do and what our people in our community do, the examples you've already seen, what they're doing is they're forcing appreciation, which again is a lot of money potentially in 3-6 months. And then they're able to take the money out that they had put into that property with a down payment, or sometimes even get all the money with a rehab back. Sometimes they even walk away with extra money. They take that money and they reuse it again on the next property. And so your money is working multiple times over. And that's called the velocity of money. When you can reuse the same money over and over again, grows your portfolio much, much faster.
And this is the example here of Trey's property, one of Trey's properties, where you can see the before picture and the after picture. And I wonder if you guys can spot the hidden value here. And if you kind of what you want to do is you want to look at the garage on the left here. And you can see that now they're, instead of the garages, there are windows there. And so what he did was he took a garage and a 1-bedroom on that side and made it into a 4-bedroom, 2-bath unit. And that's how he was able to force appreciation. And so if you look at this, he bought this for $195,000, right? So, you know, this is
And this was last year.
This was last year, right?
So for those of you out there thinking like, oh, with this market being so hot, I have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to invest in anything. It's not the case.
Yeah, and so that was just a down payment of $39,000. He did put $60,000 in repairs and renovation on this property, and after that,
and he acted as his own GC, so he did save money on this renovation.
Yeah, and so after the renovation, after forcing this appreciation, this property appraised at $350,000. And what's cool about this is that if you just look at so that was a forced appreciation. Let's go back and look at the cash flow on this property, right? So his cash on cash return is 33%. And if you look at the absolute cash flow, the annual cash flow, it's $35,000 per year. Again, this is on a $195,000 purchase price, already making $35,000. Plus, on top of that, his property is valued at $150,000 more than when he bought it for.
Yeah, and that just means that basically in 3 years, he's going to have, paid off the initial down payment for this property. Plus, I mean, he's basically in it for nothing because he's taken all that cash flow.
Yeah,
so
if you take that cash flow and pay down the amount of money you put into it, yeah, you can pay yourself back in 3 years.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the tax savings.
Okay, and then this is actually another one of our short-term rentals. This is one in a cabin on a river up in Washington.
Yeah, right on the river. So location, location, location. All right.
So first of all, we want to start out by saying there are benefits with real estate investing for tax savings, whether or not you choose to be an active investor or a passive investor. Now, a lot of people have heard about real estate professional status, or maybe they've heard about the short-term rental tax loophole, and they've heard that they can use those statuses to be able to shelter active income, be able to shelter their W-2 income from taxes. And we'll talk about that next. But we we often get people asking, well, if I can't get real estate professional, if I can't do the short-term rental tax loophole, is there any point in me investing in real estate? So for number one, yes, because we just showed you all the different ways you make money.
4 ways.
Right. And so there are lots of reasons for cash flow that you should invest in real estate. But let's say you're only investing for the tax savings. Is there still any benefit if you're a passive investor? And the answer is yes. Real estate is really tax advantaged. So usually what happens is the government sees your property as losing value every single year. And let's say for a duplex, over 27 and a half years, the building of the duplex goes to value 0 in the government's eyes. Now, it might be gaining in value in the market, but the government still allows you to write off part of the value of that property every single year, and it's called depreciation. So it's not a real loss, it's a paper loss is what it's called, because it's not real. You're still making money on the property, but it looks like you're losing money on the property. And what you can do with that depreciation is you can actually use it to shelter the income you're making with cash flow. And all of a sudden you're getting tax-free cash flow. And you can imagine being in the situation where maybe you're making $100,000 from your day job as a doctor and $100,000 from your real estate portfolio, but you're not paying any taxes on your real estate cash flow. All of a sudden your effective tax rate is much, much lower.
Yeah, this is what makes real estate investing really unique in the US, because this does not happen in other countries. In other countries, you can only depreciate something that's brand new, and you can only depreciate it once. In the US, you can depreciate anything when you buy it. It doesn't matter if it's a 1912 building. That 1912 building, if it exchanged hands 5 times, it can be depreciated by the new buyer every time. And so that's what's really crazy about real estate in the US and why so many people want to invest in real estate in the US.
And right now there's something called 100% bonus depreciation. What that allows you to do is take the first 20 years of depreciation and front load it into year 1. And that's really key because that can allow you to create massive losses on your taxes. If you have a lot of passive income, for example, coming in from syndications, or maybe you own a surgical center, all of a sudden you have all these passive losses that you could use to shelter that active income, or use to shelter your real estate cash flow. Or if you're selling a real estate property, you could potentially even use it to shelter that.
Yeah, but I think the real best example, if you don't do any of those things, if you're just getting cash flow from your properties, cash flow is generally tax-free. So imagine, let's say you make 200,000 W-2 and 200,000 from your cash flow, then your effective tax rate is cut in half. And that's a big, big drop in your tax rate.
Now, if you create a ton of passive losses and you don't use them, what happens to them? Do they disappear? No, actually, they roll forward. And so you can use them in future years. So you don't lose them, they continue to roll forward. And then when you 1031 exchange, which is when you take one property and you sell it and you move it in, all the proceeds from that into the next property using a 1031 exchange, which is a part of the tax code, you can actually use your money tax deferred and not have to pay taxes when you sell a property. And that makes you that much more efficient because you're able to use all that money in that first property that you sold to be able to make money in your next property through cash flow, having your renters pay down the mortgage, forced depreciation. All of a sudden your return gets much higher when you 1031 exchange.
Yeah, that's why this is so powerful because, just imagine when you force appreciation, the value of that property goes up, then you go sell it and 1031 that additional, all that equity that you built up in the property, and then you can exchange it for a bigger property tax deferred, right? So it's just a really powerful way to grow your wealth.
So there are benefits even if you are a passive investor. Now let's talk about the benefits for active investors. So generally, real estate is considered a passive activity. For those of you who are active in your real estate portfolio, you can use your losses to shelter active income, shelter your W-2 income. So the question is, how do you become an active investor? So number one, you can use the short-term rental tax loophole. And this is a tax loophole. I'm just going to give you the most general one that we use in our community. Most of the people in our community are either doing 100 hours and more than anyone else in the calendar year on their short-term rental, or they're doing 500 hours total across their short-term rentals. And now if they're doing that material participation, it's called, then they're able to be an active investor. And then they can take that 100% bonus depreciation and use all those losses, those depreciation losses, to shelter active income. The other one that people commonly use is called real estate professional status. Real estate professional status is for long-term rentals. Short-term rental tax loophole is for short-term rentals. So real estate professional status, greater than 50% of your time has to be spent in real estate. So this is not one for those of you who are working full-time and want to stay working full-time. It's probably going to be pretty difficult for you to be able to get that because you'd have to do more hours in real estate than your day job. And then the other requirement for that, the most common one that we all use, is at least 750 hours, 500 of which have to be in your portfolio. So what we usually see people do is go buy a number of long-term rentals, make sure they're working greater than 500 hours on their portfolio of long-term rentals, and greater than 750 hours in real estate that year, and more than 50% of their time. And then they're able to create these losses that they use to shelter active income. And this is how Kenji and I, in our first year that we started investing, we actually had him cut down as a doctor, cut down his work to half time and then to just a moonlighter, so that we were able to make sure that he could spend more time in real estate than as a doctor. We went out and bought a number of properties to create that depreciation. And then we also rehabbed our properties, which created extra losses.
Yeah, and then I know there's a lot of terms that we're throwing at you. It may feel overwhelming to hear all these terms and new concepts, but just be reassured that if you hear this a few times, it will definitely sink in, and the concepts can become very clear in a very short amount of time. So I just want to reassure you there.
Yeah, and we have a number of articles on our blog that talk about the benefits of investing in short-term rentals, tax benefits, and then also about a primer of real estate professionals. So both of those articles are really helpful for kind of understanding the nitty-gritty details that I just covered. And then finally, just like you're a passive investor, cash flow is generally tax-free when you're using these loopholes. And you can also 1031 exchange to defer capital gains taxes when you sell a property and take all that money, not pay taxes, and then put it into your next property, which makes your earnings much higher and is much more efficient.
Yeah, this is a picture of a short-term rental for one of our students in Austin, actually. So Austin Hill Country. And so, Austin's a really hot market, and you might think that it'd be really hard to find deals there, but you can definitely find deals even in a hot market like Austin.
So why are all these tax savings so important? Well, your tax bill is your largest expense, and you can imagine what paying very little or even zero in taxes can do to your net worth. Kenji and I have been doing this for many, many years now. It's made a huge difference in the trajectory of our growth, and you've seen multiple examples of alumni doing this as well.
Well, the stakes are even higher in a high inflation environment, because with inflation, if your investments are generating 10% return and inflation's at 10%, you're not making any money on your investments, right? You need to stay ahead of inflation. But the problem is you're still actually paying taxes on that gain. So if you're making 10% on your investments, you're still having to pay taxes on that, right? So the government doesn't care, if it's an inflationary environment. They don't change the tax code just because there's inflation. They're still going to make you pay taxes. So the way to stay ahead of all this is to, first of all, have your investments stay ahead of inflation. But number two is to eliminate your tax bill.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think that a lot of people may wonder, if I have my money in index funds and I'm making 7-8% a year, obviously you're not doing that this year, but generally, why would I even bother to put money into real estate? Well, yes, maybe you're only making 10 or 12% cash on cash return and the cash flow piece, but you've seen that you're doing many other ways that you're making money, and those returns just dwarf what you could do in index funds. And that's why we put all of our money into investing in real estate, and we're not playing that index funds game.
Yeah, and hopefully if inflation doesn't last, 10 years like it did back in the 80s. But if it does, or sorry, 70s, but it would be, if it does, that's going to be a real concern for people who are making that 7 to 10% return on their investments.
So here's an example of saving on taxes and cash flow. And actually, they did a lot of forced depreciation, and their renters are paying down. So maybe it's all of those. So Raf and Jen, they're both physicians. She's family medicine, he's anesthesia. Within 9 months of completing the summer 2020 Zero to Freedom course, they had already created $120,000 a year of cash flow. They currently own 9 multifamily properties and 3 short-term rentals for a total of 60 units. So they've done that in less than 2 years. And she achieved real estate professional in 2021. So they used that to shelter a lot of their income. They got back 6 figures in tax savings. And then in 2022, they're actually sheltering their taxes with short-term rentals and the medical office building. So that just shows you can actually switch methods and use a short-term rental tax loophole one year and use real estate professional the next year, and be able to use your pieces of properties as chess pieces to help save you in taxes, as long as you have a great tax strategy. And this is a plug for a good CPA.
Yeah. And if you wondering, how did they get up to 60 units? They must have had a lot of money in the bank. Well, actually, they had a number of strategies where, first of all, they had a good relationship with a local bank that allowed them to put 10% down. They also negotiated on a number of deals and got a haircut from the seller. And therefore, they bought some of these properties for as little as $9,000. And then the other way they did it was, just like Trey did, they forced depreciation and did cash out refis, right? And so they were able to recycle the same money over and over again. And that's how you get to 60 units with not a lot of money.
In 2 years.
In 2 years.
So now you can see there are many, many ways to get over 100,000 in gains in 1 year from real estate. When you add in that cash flow, the renters paying down your mortgage, forced depreciation, you add in all those tax savings, and it grows so quickly. And then each subsequent year, it's kind of like a snowball, really. The first year or two, it's much slower than where you're going to be in year 5 and 6. It just expands and compounds.
But the key is, you really need to know what you're doing, right? And so that kind of brings up this question of what is the first step for you? How do you achieve these types of results? And so I think at this point, we're going to transition That's completes the kind of the teaching portion. And so now we're going to talk about Zero to Freedom and our course. Okay.
So you really have two options at this point. You can spend years figuring all this out on your own, which will probably lead you to making mistakes along the way. And all the content is out there for free. We have a blog, we have a podcast, we deliver a lot of content out there. And so that is a possibility for you. However, option two is both faster and lower risk, and it comes with a community. So it's following the proven roadmap of what we've done and what we've shown you lots and lots of people in our community have already done to be able to get financial freedom. And you have the mentorship and the community along the way, so you make less mistakes and you get there way, way faster.
Yeah, and if we kind of look back to what we did, I mean, we were option one because just we didn't have the mentors out there. We didn't have the community. In fact, we were the ones who were actually leading and encouraging people to invest in real estate. But we didn't have anybody who was ahead of us and showing us the way. What we found is that because of that, we did make some mistakes. We did it slower than a lot of our students are doing because, you know, they are building on our mistakes and they're learning from them and they're able to avoid them. And also, I want to emphasize the importance of helping. You know, we also help you build your team. And so you just get a head start. It took us a long time to kind of build our teams, but you get a head start by following this proven roadmap.
So what we want to talk about next is Zero to Freedom. So Zero to Freedom helps you learn how to predict a property's performance using the cash on cash calculator, the same one we just showed you. Choosing your market, which is a place that a lot of people get very, very stuck. It helps you choose a market. And we also help you build the right team in your chosen market so that you get there so much faster than we ever did, because you have a lot of the team members actually handed to you, and the team members that aren't handed to you, you actually learn how to get yourself and source yourself, or you can get them from other members of our community.
Another one is avoiding mistakes that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. And we have countless examples of people who have avoided those types of mistakes. Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about this one because this in itself will pay for the cost of the course.
You can learn how to force hundreds of thousands of dollars of appreciation. We've given you multiple examples now from our own properties, from other people's properties. So there are a lot of us doing this, and this is exactly what we teach our students to do in our course.
Yeah, we talked about mitigating risk, and that's a really, really important thing that we incorporate. A lot of that is based on our long experience investing in real estate and going through that downturn. So we're always thinking about ways to mitigate that risk as the economy changes. But not just that, on an individual deal as well. One of the powers of having the community is, you post a deal in the community, you're going to get multiple different perspectives. And those perspectives are going to help you identify your blind spots, things that you're missing, things that you don't know yet. People who are more experienced are going to help you spot those and help you mitigate that risk and lower your risk of mistakes.
Yeah, and I think as doctors, that's really important to all of us. I think a lot of us went into medicine because we knew we were going to have that certainty of having a job and some sort of income, although, COVID maybe showed us that was not the case. But knowing how, I think a lot of us consider ourselves pretty risk averse. And so mitigating risk is really, really important to us. And because you make one big mistake, it can set you back years. And so this is what we spend a lot of time thinking about.
We talked about the number of different tax strategies, and you can see how complex it can be in terms of all the different strategies. How do you mix and match? How do I take into account my personal situation? And that's what the community is great for, right? Is that you kind of post your situation, where do you live? Where are you investing, right? What's your goal, right? We gotta know all these things before you define your tax strategy. And coming up with that tax strategy is something that we can help you with. Of course, you're not gonna just do it on your own. You're going to have a real estate CPA helping you, but it's really helpful to have that strategy defined and know what you're talking about before you have that conversation with a real estate CPA.
And then we also help you achieve fast fire, which is financial freedom while you're still young enough to enjoy it. We've showed you multiple examples of people achieving financial freedom in just a couple years. That's what we're all here about, because we want that freedom to be able to work in medicine by choice, not because we have to. And that's really the glue that I think ties a lot of us together in this community.
We mentioned how Zero to Freedom, we teach you how to negotiate, and it's really a mentality. We kind of teach you how to go into every deal expecting that you're going to get some type of a haircut or negotiating a discount. And if you go with that mindset, it makes such a big difference. Even in a hot market like we've had, you're able to negotiate discounts.
And then finally, you have this supportive community of like-minded doctors and their families and high-income professionals all around you. And we are in a spirit of abundance. We share, we lift each other up, and we help each other along the journey see blind spots. And that's really, really important to have a community where you feel like you can be open, you can share numbers, people are not going to be naysayers and tell you can't do anything, but help you along the way.
Yeah, I remember a couple of situations. One where somebody posted they were having a problem with one of their properties, but they weren't local. They were, 2,000 miles away, but there was somebody local who was able to check in on the property for them and check in on the situation. And that's what you get, right? That's like, it's like just the spirit of like helping each other. Think about it, if the majority of people here are doctors, think about it. This is what we train to do, right? This is why we went into medicine. And so it's the same thing. It's bringing that same kind of spirit of helping each other to a community. And it's just incredible.
Zero to Freedom is unlike any other course out there, including all the other courses led by physicians. Number one, it's a proven system with all the pieces you need for success in one place. We've been teaching Zero to Freedom since 2019. We have all the vendors you need, all the agents you need. We built all these systems, and now you've had multiple people go through this, actually over 3,000 people go through this course and have results. So it's absolutely proven. It's taught by two doctors, both who have a combined of 29 years of real estate investing experience, including investing through downturns, who are still actively investing. So last year we bought 85 units. So that's just a sense of how active we are. And we really see our portfolio as a testing grounds for our students because we can afford to take a lot more risk now. And so we go out and we're constantly challenging ourselves to try new things, try, building, try these types of things to help broaden what we know so we can bring that back to the group and teach.
I think another unique aspect of our course is that we have so many alumni from our group who want to give back, right? We talked about that spirit of abundance. And so we have coaches who we pay, but then we also have a dozen volunteer mentors who come into the course and they're just giving their time. They just want to help. They know they were in your position a year or two ago, and they just want to provide that support and insight and whatever you need. Coaches, there's 6 of them, and we have so much support. In addition to our Q&As, they also do open office hours where they provide you with kind of small group support. And so it's a really kind of unique thing because, again, they know our system. They are very experienced. They've implemented the things that we're teaching, and then now they're in a position to teach you.
We have over 3,000 Raving Fan students who've been through our course. And if any of you are wondering, just go put it in our Facebook group and you will see how many people have had results from taking Zero to Freedom. And a lot of them have already achieved financial freedom in less than 2.5 years. Here are a couple other testimonials we wanted to share with you. I think Victoria is an attorney. I just wanted to point out we have usually about 15% of our community that are high-income professionals, not doctors. And then all of our doctors in our community, a lot of them are bringing in their spouses who are not doctors as well. So there's a significant group of non-doctors in our community every single course. And so everyone is welcome. But Victoria took our course and she said it gave her a blueprint of everything she needed. And that, for somebody considering taking Zero to Freedom, take it because it's the best investment you can give for yourself. And this is ultimately an investment in your education. Nobody can ever take that away from you once you know how to make money. It's what we're really passionate about is teaching people to fish, and they walk away with all the skills necessary to be able to make money on their own, and they don't need us anymore after this course.
Yeah, I mean, you get lifetime value out of this because you're investing in your education. I want to point out Heather and Kevin, they in 6 months, they bought a 12 unit. They're making 5,000 in cash flow a month. And they've also increased their net worth by 1.5 million. We talked about making 100,000 your first year. They made way more than that with this first purchase in 6 months.
Yeah, and then they're
Oh,
also
yeah.
getting that tax
Tax
refund
refund.
using a
Right.
short-term
Yeah,
rental.
they
It's
kind of
actually-
combined all those components that we just talked about. So pretty awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of people do that in our community. They're doing long-term rentals maybe first or short-term rentals first, and then they add on long-term rentals or short-term rentals down the road because each have upsides and downsides. And so ultimately, I think a lot of our community does both. And then people will add in commercial, they'll add in medical office. So we have people investing in raw land and storage units. We have a whole wide range. And then lastly, we wanted to point out Natalie, who's a GI doc. She actually took one of our early courses back in 2019. She got to 20 doors, including 19 long-term rental doors and then a short-term rental. And she's actually been able to have not only tax savings, also she forced a ton of appreciation, and she has cash flow, but she's also had market appreciation, which we didn't talk about this, but our students who have gone through the course in the last couple of years have had a lot of market appreciation as well. So what are the features of Zero to Freedom? First of all, you get lifetime access to 7 pre-recorded modules. So lifetime access means we actually upgrade the course every 6 to 12 months. We add improvements and you'll get access to those new improvements, and your course is always available to you. So even once the community has ended in 7 weeks, the course is still there for you to reference even a year or two later. We cover mindset, strategy, and the tools you need for cash flowing rental success. You've seen this as a proven roadmap. We give you everything that you need to be able to do that. Each module is dripped out each week, so everyone transitions in the course together to go from knowing nothing about real estate through really having that confidence and knowledge to be able to buy their first property.
Yeah, and each module has 7 or 8 videos. They're about 10 to 15 minutes long. Some are a little bit longer, but again, they're broken down into bite-sized little chunks that you can watch in your downtime if you have a little bit of time here and there. That's the idea. It's really meant for the busy doctor, and it's easy to consume. So I just want to kind of mention how that's structured.
Right. We are you guys, when we started this journey, we were both working more than full time as physicians, and we were doing this on our time, in the evenings and things like that. And so we know what it's like. Now we have 3 little kids, and we're still balancing our real estate portfolio plus semi-retired. So we wanted to make it doable. And again, we've had so many people go through this and have success. It really is doable for you if you prioritize it. You get access to worksheets and other useful downloads throughout the course. You get mentorship from us, plus 6 experienced coaches who have built their own portfolios. They took Zero to Freedom. They are investing across the country. A lot of them are California based. I know there's a lot of you from California. They're investing in other parts of the country remotely. And then this group of volunteer mentors who are also investing in a bunch of different markets, a lot of them remotely too.
So we talked about all the pre-recorded sessions. Those are the kind of the video components of the course. Then we actually have live components as well. And so we have a weekly live Q&A with us on Thursdays. And then in addition to that, there are daily open office hours with our team of alumni coaches. Those are the ones where you can go in, smaller group, you can bring your deals, go through those deals. You can talk about, how to choose a market, all those questions that you might have. And the cool thing is that the coaches have such diverse experiences, and they're investing in so many different markets that there's very likely you're going to find somebody who is maybe investing in your exact market, or maybe investing in the type of properties you're looking for. So that's, I think, one of the beauties of having this kind of format where you have lots of different types of coaches with different experience in these open office hours.
You also get community support in our specific course community that's located in Facebook. We encourage you, if you're doing this with a significant other or spouse, to bring that person into the Facebook community as well. There's a lot of learning that happens in there, a lot of education. We're in there answering questions. The coaches and mentors are in there. And so besides the course, this is the other place that you really can learn a ton in a very little period of time.
Also, we give you access to our trusted team of vendors. We told you that we shortcut things by helping you build your team, right? Something that took us months and years to do is building our team of different vendors. And so we literally hand you the ones that we've worked with, so many other students have worked with and have had just tremendous reviews as well as customer service. And then and something that's exclusive to people who take our courses, nobody else gets access to this, is our network of over 400 long-term rental and short-term rental agents. And these are specialized agents. They're not your regular residential agents. These are investor agents, who are completely different breed of agents. They're the ones who help you find these deals, and they have access to those off-market deals that we talked about.
Yeah, and last time we counted, our students are investing in 92 different markets. So odds are we're going to have an investor agent in the market you choose. And then finally, you have the opportunity to earn 10 CME credits. We can't tell you that your work is going to reimburse you for the cost of the course, so you'll have to handle that with them. But you do have the opportunity to get CME for taking this course.
Yeah, and the CMEs are based on reflections, not based on the content itself. It's based on the reflection of the things that we talked about in the course. And again, there's a big component of mindset that we cover in week 1. And so a lot of the reflections are kind of concentrated there.
We also have a number of bonuses included besides just the course material. So bonus number 1 is real estate bookkeeping basics. And in it, we really just show you about how to use bookkeeping in your real estate portfolio to maximize its income, and then also to make sure that you're, maximally tax efficient.
Yeah, bonus number 2 is really popular. This is our short-term rentals module. And so this is where we cover some of the basics of short-term rentals, but also how you can find some great opportunities in terms of short-term rental investments. And there's a little secret to that, which is that it's not in the places that you might expect.
Bonus number 3 is 60 days of additional support in our membership site, and that's called Empire Builders. So after you finish going through the course, it takes about 7 weeks for the community to go through it. You get an additional 60 days where you get put in Empire Builders Facebook community, and you get a ton of additional content. We've been building our content monthly in Empire Builders for 2 years now. So there's a lot of additional advanced real estate investing concepts in there. So you get that kind of additional community support. We're in there doing Q&As. There's short-term rental Q&As in there. And there's 1,400 experienced investors who have gone through our courses. So it's a very active community with additional education as well.
Yeah, just to simplify things, I think of things, if I break it down in the simplest terms, I think about the content and the community, right? And that's what you get in the course. And then in Empire Builders, you can continue that, right? You can continue to get that content, which is, we have over 2 years worth of content. And these are the advanced concepts, the things that you need to know after you take Zero to Freedom. Like, what are the next steps after Zero to Freedom? Well, that's what we cover in terms of the content. And then we also get that community. So you continue to have that community. And, as we said, the community just gets stronger because now you have a community of people who have all completed Zero to Freedom, who are now taking their portfolios to the next level. Some of these people may be, way ahead of you, which is great because they can then show you, how to get to where they've gotten.
Okay, the next bonus is the Backstage Pass. This is one we mentioned earlier, where you get the insider's look at our portfolio. And the first Backstage Pass video is actually from 2 years ago. So we showed you what our portfolio looked like at that time. We talked about some of the mistakes we made along the way. And then we also did a kind of an update video where you can see where our portfolio is now and how we've added properties and how we've been able to 1031 exchange. So I think it's really cool to kind of see how things have changed over time in our portfolio as well.
Bonus number 5 is our mindset course, and something you'll learn if you take our course is that we think that mindset is one of the most important components of your success, and can tell you how many people, they initially go, oh, what is this mindset stuff? But when they realize mindset's so important is when they have that first issue or problem with their rental portfolio, some type of a curveball or an issue that happens at their rental properties, and they go, oh, okay, now I realize why this is so important. And so we invest a lot of time in the course, but this is actually a separate course that even builds on some of the things that we talk about in Zero to Freedom, but also provides you with even more tools from our toolkit. We've invested a lot of money and time in our own mindsets. And so we provide all those tools in this course.
Yeah, and this course retails for $7.99. We actually sell it as a freestanding course, but we're throwing it in as a bonus for Zero to Freedom this time. And then bonus number 6 is tax benefits of real estate investing. This is a module where we have, teach a lot of the tax strategies we've talked about, but then we also have 7 CPAs/tax strategists who come in and we interview them, and you can see how they answer the questions. You can start to see the sense of how different CPAs look at the tax code a little bit differently, and start to kind of put together your tax strategy of what you want, and potentially even find that CPA who you want to work with.
All right, so let's talk about the schedule real quick. So, I'm going to focus on the open office hours and our live Q&A. So the open office hours are 5 days a week with the various coaches, and there are various times to fit all the different schedules, including the weekend as well. So you're definitely going to find some time that fits your busy schedule. And we did it that way on purpose. And then on Thursdays, we had those live Q&As with us. And
if you missed those, they're actually recorded and uploaded, so you can always access them later and watch them in, double speed, so you get through them faster. I also want to add that on Saturdays there are peer-to-peer hours where you can spend some time with your peers in the course and the mentors as well, and just get to network and get to know each other and add more to that kind of community feel.
Yeah, something we say is proximity is power, right? So if you surround yourself with people who are successful, then the likelihood that you're going to be successful is very high. And then all week long, you do get additional support every day in the Facebook course community. You'll see that it's a very, very robust community, lots of conversations, lots of things going on, people posting deals. And so it's a great place to get answers to your questions.
We have a risk-free guarantee, which is basically if you purchase Zero to Freedom and it isn't what you expected, you have several weeks, as long as you write to us at support@semiretiredmd.com before Wednesday, August 24th, you can get your money back. So you can get started today if you want to join us in Zero to Freedom. It's one payment of $35.99 or two payments of $17.99.50. This is the link that you can use to sign up today. And with that, I think we'll transition into some of the Q&As.
Nope. Oh. Okay, so we're gonna all right. So what we're going to do, and instead of hearing from us, we're going to let you hear from some of our course alumni who have been really great about just sharing their time and providing you with their thoughts about the course. And so let me play this. I'm going to expand the screen, and so maybe you guys can. Okay, first of all, can you hear the sound and can you see the full screen? Just if you can let me know in the chat. Okay, good. Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Subhasi Tacharjee. I'm an interventional cardiologist based in Boston area. I took my Zero to Freedom course at the peak of the pandemic in the summer of 2020. And since then, I have grown from 1 unit to 14 units. But more importantly, I'm on my way to achieve well over 6-figure cash flow because of the investment that we have been able to make.
So I'm Melissa. This is my husband, Ben. We were really interested in learning about real estate, and I felt like this course had everything you could possibly want to know about real estate. So I think it gave us a lot of opportunity to sort of expand like our personal freedom and our financial freedom.
My name is Victoria Oyefeso, and I am a corporate attorney slash real estate investor. And prior to taking the course, I only had a primary residence, but a year plus now since taking the course, I have 15 units, multifamily and single family, and take it, you won't regret it. Like that is the best investment you can do for yourself and for your family.
Hi, I'm Manya Cooperstock. I am a family medicine doctor that also does obstetrics. I would absolutely recommend taking Zero to Freedom. I think the value in it is incredible. If you know nothing about real estate and want to get to a place where you're purchasing properties confidently, this is the course to take.
I'm Gretchen Green. I'm a radiologist in North Carolina. And prior to taking the fall of 2019 Zero to Freedom course, I was completely anti-real estate. So I went from having no units to closing on 40 units within a few months after the course in January of 2020. I acquired a 6-unit property January of 21, so I now have a total of 46 units. Take Zero to Freedom, join Empire Builders, take the bookkeeping, course for QuickBooks, and then take Accelerating Wealth.
My name is Kirti Agarwal. I am a physician, a mom, a daughter, a sister, and I bear multiple identities. I wanted to have the freedom to do things before I turn 65. So any advice for anybody who's planning to take it, I would say just sign up for it, because you are not just signing up for a real estate course, you're signing up for coaching, you're signing up for a community of supporting and like-minded physicians, because there are people in all stages. It's like you're trying to be a butterfly and then you are in the garden and you see beautiful, bright butterflies everywhere flying. And if you're a caterpillar today, you know you're getting there.
All right. So now we're gonna, just one second. Oh, don't want to watch that again. All right, let me just see here. Oh, here we go. Okay, I gotta figure out how to exit full screen. Okay, let me just stop share real quick. All right, and then let me go here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so with that, we're going to move into the Q&A portion. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
We can stop
All right,
recording.
great. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.